Do you know what it's like to have a twin? No, you don't. Because it's really different than not having one. It's so much different and better. You can't even imagine. And if something's happened to her, you don't know, I'm totally screwed. Because all my life, I've had parts of myself that I haven't looked at. And things I've wanted to do, I haven't done because I knew that Wendy'd do them. So I didn't have to be the wild one. I didn't have to go nuts and get sent away to some hospital because I knew she would. I never had to do those things because I knew she would do those things. And then we'd hook up again and we'd stay up all night and we'd talk and it would all be integrated. We'd be a whole person together. She's my twin. So I went off to college while she went off to Europe, and I've always had my shit together, and she's always been a wreck. And I go into this job every day to cubicles and jerks. Smile, smile, and stupid campaigns and stupid clients who call me at 7 p.m. just when I'm getting off of work to tell me that the ad for the rebroadcast of some Eddie Murphy movie on the USA Network just isn't exactly what they were hoping for. And so I set down my bag and I sit down and I call this poor, stupid writer at their home and I try to make it work. And if Ron calls me and he needs something, I try to make it work. All day, every day, I am trying to make it work for everybody. And sometimes, yeah, I get a little mad and I think, why can't I be the one who's a mess and has a little fun? But I don't know what I'd do if she's not around, you know? I don't know what I'll do. I feel like my street decided to be so loud just as I was starting. And I was like, why?
I'm glad it was your street and not someone unmuted. But okay, first of all, hear me out. I felt like you were playing a character and I didn't mind it. Like, obviously we should be playing characters, but I mean, I feel like most of the times I say that as like, you're putting on something unnecessarily. I didn't feel that. I felt like whatever, you started that and I was like, that's not Kat. I'm interested who it is. She seems real. I'm on board. So that was cool. However, I still want to filter a little bit of Kat back in, just to get the more human instinct of calibration of how to be effective rather than how to be affected, how to be effective. Brief me on the circumstances of this monologue a little bit.
This is like close to the end of the play, like a few pages away, but basically the setup is it's September 12th, 2001, so it's the day after 9/11, and it takes place in Minneapolis. Basically, this is the main character, Waverly, who is on a blind date with this guy named Andrew, who at the start of the play, he shows up early to pick her up from her apartment and she's like still getting ready. And while she's getting ready, her neighbor Ron comes over. And so Andrew's like meeting their neighbor or whatever. He comes to find out that Waverly has a twin sister named Wendella, who actually lives in New York and is studying at FIT. And throughout the play, Andrew's kind of weird, like he's a little back and forth, wishy-washy, and he's really weirded out by the fact that he has the same taste in books as Waverly. And
You're Waverly?
I'm Waverly.
I'm gonna make you do the same thing as Dolby, so it's I, not Waverly.
So he's weirded out by the same taste in books as me. Like he looks at my bookshelf, it's all the same. And then he gets a little weirded out talking to Ron, like, because Ron is the one who tells him that he has a twin sister, and he's just like, that's so crazy, because when I saw Waverly, I felt like I'd seen her before. Mm-hmm. And slowly over the course of the play, which they kind of keep getting she hasn't been able to get in contact with her sister. Her mom has been calling all over the place. They haven't been able to contact with her, but Waverly's trying to be like, she's fine. She doesn't work in the Twin Towers. Like, everything's good. But then you come to find out basically in this scene, like just before this, that Andrew's like, actually, he's a musician and he was visiting someone in New York who's like a teacher, musician friend. He was like, actually, I went to a bar and I'm pretty sure I met your sister. Like, she was talking to me outside this bar and she was talking about how she was offered this job that would be in the Twin Towers. And she was basically asking me for advice. And she's like, yeah, that's so like her. Like, she basically uses like a coin flip. And basically the lines before, like, she asked me for advice, typical. She said, you don't know me, but I'm trying to make a decision and I need your help. And then she said, talking to strangers was like flipping a coin. It's how she makes decisions. And tonight I was the coin. And I'm like, that's Wendy. That's so Wendy. And then she told me the whole story and asked me, should I take the job? And he says, yes. And so then I'm like, okay, so my sister might be dead. And he's like, yeah. And then I start, do you know what it's like to have a twin? And then I go off on this, basically. So just before I basically have gotten the news that she probably died.
So.
Sorry, that was a lot, but.
No, that's really helpful. I mean, the most helpful thing for me is the immediately before, but it's good to know the backstory, the stuff relating to you and the twin. I feel like, this is just my first instinct, and correct me if I'm wrong or if you have a better idea, but it seems to me like you are starting, that monologue is coming from a place not in response to what he said, but in response to your initial reaction to what he said. Because I imagine if it's you playing this part or any actor worth her salt, she is going to reveal something to Andrew in this moment that is deeply personal, vulnerable, painful, whatever it is, little girlness, especially if she's like tough, which I feel like, well, I don't think you would have picked a not tough role, and and you are, and you're playing her that way. So if you need to explain to him either what's just happened or what's about to happen from your point of view, I don't think it's, I mean, why would you be, he didn't know the towers were going to fall. I mean, unless it's just like an irrational anger thing, I think it's more about, like, do you know what I mean? Like, he's there with you.
Yeah, and also I think to follow that up, like in the very next page, she's basically like, why did you tell me that? And his whole thing is like, he's just like, can't lie. And he's just like, I had to. Once I realized that I had talked to her, like, I had to tell you what happened. And yeah. I think she's resentful, like, pretty immediately. Like, I didn't want to know that.
Yeah. I think, so the first thing I was going to, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
The first thing that I was going to pose to you before I asked for the backstory was I was going to say, without answering me, what is planned and what is not planned in this. Because with a monologue, there's always things when we start it that we intend to say. There's always things we already know. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna talk slow. There are always things in a monologue that you either already know and are sharing, things that are clear to you, things that are obvious, stories you've told 100 times, facts, but feelings are more often than not discovered. And this is a very feelings-based monologue. I don't want you to live in the feelings, but I would say that initially my issue with your performance was that it didn't feel like a planned performance, but it felt like everything you were saying to him was something you'd already knew you were going to say to him. A little bit like a speech. And I was thinking it's probably somewhere in the middle. But have you told me those circumstances, I feel like it's very largely discovery based because it's following a massive discovery. So I think really take that moment before. I don't care to take a full minute. We're on time. We're doing well. Take that moment before, hear the news, and you don't, I mean, I guess you know what that means, but someone is watching you have just, I don't know how well you know him or what, but you just found out Brad's dead, or the equivalent of that. Sorry?
I met him tonight. We've had a weird night, but like.
So someone you just met, and I'm not telling you have to do this, I'm just equating it. Someone you just met at Haswell that you were flirting with and hanging out with told you that Brad's dead. And you have to experience that in front of this person. Mm-hmm. Because they're who's there. And it might be their fault. So I think, yeah, I don't want it to be Brad, because this is not Brad. This is someone who is different from Brad, because you're both characters. But it's still rooted in that same kind of, what would it be like to lose someone that close to me? This is a specific person. I don't know if you have someone specific pictured, whatever. But let's just explore what it's like. I just don't want you to know what the fuck this is going to do to you. I don't want to know what it's going to do to you either. So let's find out.
Okay, yeah. Do you know what it's like to have a twin? No, you don't. Because it's very different from not having one. It's so much different and better. You can't even imagine. And if something's happened to her, you don't know. I'm totally screwed. Because all my life, I have these things about myself that I haven't looked at, and things I've wanted to do that I haven't done.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let's see what happens if we don't make this about anger.
Okay.
If we make this about getting, I don't know what, emotional support, talking through your feelings, whatever it is. He didn't mean to kill her. He didn't kill her. I know, but even if it's on his shoulders, nobody knew the towers were going to fall. Nobody knew that. You know what I mean? So if anything, and I know this is a full 180 and I want it to be for the purposes of right now, if anything, maybe you're grateful that you know what happened to her.
Okay.
You know, not that you're grateful she's dead, but that rather than him being a bad guy, he's someone who solved a mystery, and you can use his presence to process these feelings. And I know it's the opposite of what I say to everyone, to like take it to the person. You can, but I think some of this is, he's there and you can use him and you can take it to him. But I think some of this is you processing this reality that probably hasn't sunk in yet and might throughout the monologue.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Do you know what it's like to have a twin? No, you don't. Because it's really different from not having one. It's so much different and better. You can't even imagine. And if something's happened to her, you don't know. I'm totally screwed. Because all my life I've had these parts of myself I haven't looked at, and things I wanted to do I didn't do because I knew that Wendy do them. So I didn't have to be the wild one. I didn't have to go nuts and get taken away to some hospital because I knew she'd do that. I never had to do those things because I knew she'd do them.
This is so beautiful, and the adjustment was taken so well, and I love it, but I want to start you over again and just set you up for total success. As far as taking direction goes, that was perfect. As far as what I'm trying to achieve goes, I don't think that was it. I don't think you have to be hiding your emotion in any way. I don't think you have to be trying to be in a good mood. I don't think it has to be, I still think it's a little bit too much about him, to the point where, I don't know, man, if I just told you just now, whether it's me or someone you just met who you've been talking to, you connect with people easily. So if this is someone, you know, and I know it's not you, but I don't know what her deal is. That's true. I don't know who this character is, but he's just this person who's here, and he is just, there's no maybe. He has confirmed if she took that job, which he said she did, then she's dead. So you have just found out that your mother, I don't care who, but think about what would happen if someone told you that. I don't know if you could make words for a minute. I think in making words, you might be trying to explain why it's so hard for you to make words.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying, is I think this can't be real moment. This can't be real, because if it's real, then you have to imagine what it would be like to not have that person.
Yeah.
You know, so he can be there, he can be privy, he can be helpful, he can be whatever, but this is not about him.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
About you understanding what your life is about to be like.
Okay. That's helpful. Yeah. Do you know what it's like to have a twin? No, you don't. Because it's really different from not having one. It's so much different and better. You can't even imagine. And if something's happened to her.
Start over, same place, no shouting. This is camera. He's right there. You don't have to project anything. Keep it right here.
Do you know what it's like to have a twin? No, you don't, because it's really different from not having one. It's so much different and better. You can't even imagine. And if something's happened to her, you don't know. I'm totally screwed. Because all my life I've had, there's these parts of myself I haven't looked at, and things I wanted to do I haven't done because I knew that Wendy'd do them. So I didn't have to be the wild one. I didn't have to go nuts and get put away in some hospital. I never had to do those things because she did them. And then, you know, we'd hook up and we'd stay up all night and we'd talk, and we'd be a whole person together. She's my twin. So, you know, I went off to college, and she went off to Europe, and I've always had my shit together, and she's always been a wreck. And I go into this job every day with cubicles and jerks, you know, smile, and stupid campaigns and stupid clients. People calling me at 7 p.m. just as I'm finally getting off work, calling me from LA to tell me that some ad for the rebroadcast of some Eddie Murphy movie on the USA Network just isn't exactly what they were hoping for. And so I put down my bag and I sit down and I try to make it work. You know, if Ron calls me and he needs something, I try to make it work. Oh, I spend all day, every day trying to make it work for everyone. And sometimes I get a little mad and I think, why can't I be the one who's a mess? Why can't, and have some fun? But I don't know what I'll do if she's not around, you know? I don't know what I'll do.
Oh my God, I wish I could hug you. I'm crying. Who else is crying? Raise your hand if you're crying. Oh, Kitty. Wow.
That was cool. It all just kind of hit me, so.
Everyone who's hidden on video, unhide yourself. I need to see who else is emotional.
When you said, like, it's more about my experience, it's like, okay, that kind of gave me permission. Because I feel like, you know, in monologue, it's always like, what are you trying to get from this person? And I guess in this moment, it's not really that.
You know, it's not, you're right. It's not what you're trying to get from this person necessarily, not as aggressively as it is in some other scenes, not as aggressively as it was in either of the, you know, the other ones we just worked on, any of the ones we just worked on, but you're still trying to get something, and what, I don't know, clarity, understanding,
understanding like what
answers as someone to say it was just a joke.
I think she really just wants him to be like, no, just kidding. Like, it was someone who looked like her. It wasn't her or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much to say. The what there is to say is like, how do you make sure you don't have to get there every time? That was big. That was big discovery stuff. And if you try to get there, you know what's going to happen. You're going to get nowhere near it. The question is, how do we, what was lined up for you to be able to go on that kind of journey where you can let yourself go on that kind of journey again? I think one thing that might help that we didn't do this time, but I just want to put it in your head because I thought of it, is I don't know, oh, Kenzie is not in the room. There she is. That I don't know whether it would be, not that it wouldn't be a huge shock, but it's kind of the opposite of oppositional listening, it's just listening, expectational listening, whatever. It's that this, if she's been missing, if you haven't been able to, like, if you already have the suspicion, you know, this is not just like,
I'm in denial. I'm in heavy denial because throughout the play, she keeps like, she's talked to her mom on the phone a few times. Anytime the phone rings, she's like, I'm going to take this in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And definitely, she knows it's a possibility, but she's kind of like, we're going to find her. It's going to be fine. In her honor, they play this crazy drinking game. Like, we're just going to like channel Wendy and it's going to be great. Everything's fine.
but just think about how the more time that goes by, whether it's a minute or an hour, when that is your fear, when you really don't know, you know that the bad news could be coming any minute. So you play more drinking games. So you know what I mean? Like, you pray that it's not coming, but you know that it could be. So I think it might just help you shortcut there a little bit if the second he says, I think I met your twin, which I know isn't in the scene, but that you're already, it's
kind of getting pushed over the edge. I was in the middle. You're if that's not the most Georgia face.
I guess. All right, are we settled? Everyone had a good time? Great, we're back to work. So anyway, what I was saying was, I think maybe it might just shortcut your being able to get there if you just kind of have in your head that it's like, it's not what he's gonna say, right? That's not where this is going. That's not, it is. You know what I mean, to a certain point. But as far as going on a similar journey, I mean, I think that cue seemed to be helpful for you, and I think it is kind of the gist of this is, now what?
Yeah.
What will life be like? Can you picture it? And I think if you lead from that place every time, if your want is to figure out how you're gonna move forward, then I think you'll be supported in that quest.
Totally.
Great work, Katie. I'm so proud of you.